a mic right here, Chris, so people can hear it on Zoom.
Okay.
So,
Sure.
okay, hi, my name's Dr. Carrie Franklin. I'm a professor in the English department. I've been here about 16 and a half years. I'm also an associate provost in public affairs and assessment. And Mr. Gooden has invited us here, and I'm going to introduce my colleague in one moment to talk about academic integrity. My colleague here is Dr. Chris Craig. He is a professor in the College of Education, and he is the deputy provost of the university. You want to tell him a little bit more?
Sure. So I'm glad to be with you guys today. I work with Dr. Franklin, implement our policy and our approach and support, and that's what it is. It's support of you all as students and faculty with academic integrity and making sure that you understand what that is and what our expectations are and what we do to ensure that you comply with the expectations of both your department and the university. So I'm glad to be with you guys. Thank you for letting me come.
Yeah, me too. And I was thinking the thing that Chris and I have in common are, our heart and souls with teaching and with students being successful. Mm-hmm. And so part of this is to kind of explain the process, but you have a professor who is a forensic accountant, right, by trade, and he's done so much of that. And in the work in accounting that you do, you have very high ethical standards. Mm-hmm. We want you to finish your degree in accounting without ever having to have a conversation with me or you, right?
Yeah, you don't want to be talking with me about anything. That's right.
Well, and so Chris doesn't know the title of my presentation, but it's called Academic Integrity, Honest Work. But, just good, honest work, okay? So, I don't know. I have some slides. Will you start? Will you hold this a second? And I'm going to pull up one slide. Will you want to tell them about, well, what do you want to know? Like, what are you worried about? Do you worry about plagiarizing? Do you worry about, what are some of the scenarios that might come up? I mean, we get academic integrity cases from lots of departments, and we've had some in accounting. So Mr. Gooden wants to ensure that you do not do this. It is not worth it, I guarantee. And so I always think what I would really want to know, if you're feeling this urge like, oh my gosh, I've got to use someone else's work, or if you don't follow the simple rules of just putting your phone away or putting your computer away and following those simple rules, it can jeopardize a lot of things. And we do not want that for you at all. Would you have anything to add to that, Mr. Gooden or Dr. Craig?
Well, the only thing I would add to is that what we've tried to emphasize, and we added something new to the syllabus just this last semester, talking about the respondus lockdown and the use of Monitor. And we've had instances where some students' actions during those testing situations were coded as, as an academic integrity violation, is not following the rules and guidelines. And, I guess that I would just say that a lot of this stuff, I think for this department, if I'm recalling, a lot of things come up during the testing situation. And to be very clear about what the expectations of your faculty are in terms of whether you have an iPhone even in proximity to your testing condition, that you're aware that if you're someplace taking a test, that you need to understand that the second you sit down and fire up your computer, make the assumption you're being recorded, that the monitor is on, that what's happening in the environment where you're taking your test is being recorded. And if you anticipate being in a testing situation that's not in the typical classroom, which may not happen all the time with you guys as accounting students, but if you're in a situation where you think there's going to be roommates around, family potential interactions, disruptions to the environment, something that could be interpreted as not following protocol, talk to your professor about it in advance. Make sure that they understand the constraints or the conditions that you have when you take your exam, because we've been running into that quite a bit and trying to get informed students how to avoid those pitfalls.
I think that's such a good point, especially if you cannot have a perfect place to take a test, right? If it's not completely quiet and you can't ensure that people are going to be running around in the background, you need to email not only Mr. Gooden, but any of your accounting professors, okay? Mm-hmm. Let them know. They are truly there to help, and that will help you and it will help them. Also, I would recommend clearing your desk completely, okay? Even a big water bottle, I would probably take it off because the rules in the syllabus state that you have to have all computers, all phones, everything off that table. Don't test it. And you said, assume that you're being recorded. Assume from the very moment that you log on that you could be recorded, okay? And also, I wanted to say something about not only assume that you're being recorded, but also assume that somebody watches a video. And they will look at where your eyes are. And you know, I've had to watch videos and people are looking over here like the whole time and typing. And you think to yourself, you know, it's odd. Like, we don't do that. When I'm working on an assignment, right, on my computer, what am I doing? I'm kind of looking both ways, looking right at my screen. So, you know, don't do that. But again, if something weird happens and there's like a meteor that hits outside your window and you're looking over here and gawking, email Mr. Gooden, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that could happen. Yes, ma'am. Yeah. Well, you know, if you have your notes in front of you and you're reading your notes, I promise you, I thought there's no way you could tell. I'm just telling you. So me going in and watching a video, I'm like, how are you going to tell, you know, by watching this? But reading your notes versus staring off, it will be fine, right? Or even hold your notes up. Show them that you're looking at your notes. Like, oh, I've got my notes right here. I'm just checking it. You could even hold, if you have 3 pages of notes, hold each one up and say, you know, I've got 3 pages. And then let's pretend it was Mr. Gooden. And he says, I'd love to see your notes. Right? You have your notes. Keep your notes.
One thing Respondus does, and I do this with my global classes now, they've introduced functionality where you can take pictures of your notes at the end of the day. So I know exactly, and my control process is I give you a colored sheet of paper that's a weird color that you're not just going to go by, so I know if you're using a sheet of paper that says it's okay to use.
Okay.
Do you think most of the issues are with multiple choice type things, or do you have issues with writing, do you feel like?
This class, I don't make them do Respondus because it would be very difficult, have been in the past, very difficult to, the exams they have are very simple. It's not like answering a county question.
Yeah.
It's like, how do you feel about this?
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I know there are things happening now that make that less applicable. So when I see the cheating, I see it with multiple choice computational. Conceptual stuff.
So, what advice do you have then? So, you know, looking back on the issues with multiple choice, what advice do you have for students?
Things that throw red flags for me are like Dr. Franklin said, if you're looking off to the side a lot, or I see your eyes are just, you're looking at the screen but your eyes are this way, that's weird. I'm not going to tell you everything I look for, obviously, but you know, there are red flags for us that we see. If the video kicks off and you're going shh, 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 that's pretty good. You can hear if someone's in the room with you. Even if you don't show them, even if they're like following away from the camera, so they're in the camera. You know, there are things that we look at. My advice would be to just look at your professor's exam policies. All of them have one. Review the Respondus policies, review the university's policies, and make sure you're not violating it. Like Dr. Franklin said, don't test it. Don't test it. Just follow the guidelines, and you should be fine.
He's going to share this PowerPoint with you, but here's one. Don't ask fellow students about the rules because they may not have the right answer. I know that seems like a crazy one, but that's happened. But I think, you know, Chris and I think about learning. You're learning to be an accountant. You're going to get an amazing job. You have a 100% guarantee to get an amazing, well-paying job, right? But you got to learn the stuff. Like the role of the test is to help you kind of solidify that knowledge so you are ready for that big licensure exam, right? and to make the big bucks. And so what you have anything to add about that? That's like the whole reason for the assignment. And so let's say you guess what? I know some of you, all of you are really high achievers and you're striving for the A's, right? Like you are there, many of you. But if it's between an A and a B on a test and plagiarizing or, I hate the word cheating, but sort of cheating, it's really not worth it. Take the B. I promise. Take the B. It will be okay. And it will not keep you probably from getting the job of your dreams.
No, no.
Okay.
But what can affect that is that, apart from that, if there's a read, think about who you want to bank on for your letters of reference, to have your back when you go out for that job interview and so forth. I mean, your faculty in accounting are amazing in terms of their advocacy for their students, for getting those good jobs. So what you don't want to jeopardize, not only, getting the B may be a better deal, but you don't want to jeopardize your integrity in any way, or keep that foremost. Let that be your deal. I mean, ethics is the big deal with this, one of the big deals with this profession, and others with licensure out there. But, you never want to get sideways with the department with respect to their standing by you as someone with integrity. To me, that's one of the most important things.
You're business majors, you're building a network right now, right? And even at Forvis, all these conversations that you're having with people, they're remembering you, they're thinking, hey, listen, this is going to be the person with the job. And then everybody in the accounting department too. I mean, they're going to be your friends and colleagues in the near future, right? And they 100% want to support you. I'm just going to, I don't know if I have anything else over here, Mr. Gooden, because I have some things about writing, but that's not really what you're thinking about. Well, I'm going to let you can go through these slides because I just have so I like to talk about integrating sources. This is something that you might want to use it as an example, thinking about the original passage, and then how do you, like, which one of these would you choose, like A or B? Which one's plagiarized?
Yeah, those will be useful, because that's, I talked to them Monday about this, that in this class we're learning how to write. And so I'm not going to immediately turn them into the academic integrity office if I suspect that they might have gone a little too far with paraphrasing or something. We're going to sit and we're going to talk about it, and we're going to go through examples like that.
Oh, I would love to come in and talk about writing and how you'll never plagiarize again.
If you want to do it, we will gladly have you.
I think it'd be so much fun because, we've all had to learn it.
Yeah, this is a writing intensive course.
I remember that now. How could I have forgotten? That's so cool. Well, do you have the message? Do you have the message? Please don't do it. It's not worth it. This person is behind you 100% and wants your success. Chris and I do too.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of people all over campus. And ask for help. To me, that's the first thing. Like, if you're feeling like you can't do it, or you're feeling this urge, and it's 11:59, which is the most common time for people to cheat, is when you have an assignment at midnight. That's true. Research shows it. Between that 11 and 12 o'clock hour. First of all, don't wait till that late. You probably are not going to feel that way.
Gary, also, I don't know how many, if any, we have of international students, but we've really been trying to press their connection with Kelly, right?
Yes.
And I'm sorry, her last, it's Dr. Kelly.
Kelly Cabrera Hayes.
Cabrera
Do you guys
Hayes.
know Dr. Hayes?
Does anybody that's an international student know her? Part of her goal is to work with international students to make sure they're completely acclimated to anything that is new to them based on being in the United States, based on being in an American university, expectations tied to this whole issue of academic integrity. So I think she's an underutilized source. I think she's a great person that's really interested in supporting folks. So if you have friends that are national students that are struggling or need advice or support, that would be a go-to.
You can email Academic Integrity if you have a question, but honestly, you really need to talk to Dr. Gooden. He's the man. He's the person to talk to.
He is the man.
You want to sing it?
No, I'm kidding.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll come back anytime, and thank you. Good luck. You're going to have amazing jobs and make lots of money.
Reach out to you about the paraphrasing.
That would be great.
Okay, bye, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, hold me